The organizer is present.
Welcome to the conference.
You notice that we have a new title for our first hour trading webinar this week, Coffee with Russ. Does that mean you're buying?
It means I'm drinking.
I was hoping for a double latte, huh?
It's BYOB, and that's not a stock. That's bring your own food. Beverage.
Well, we're going to go just a half hour this morning, and the purpose of our webinar, in case this is the first time you've been joining us, is to get expert advice from Russ on the first hour trading system. This is not just for newbies, but for people who have been using the system for a while as well. I think you'll all gain something from this. And the way this works, let's just briefly go through how the system actually works for you. And that is that as we work through the presentation, you'll be asking the questions, and Russ will be answering them. Russ has a background as a successful day trader in addition to his normal 4-day job.
4 10-hour days.
Russ is out on the West Coast. My name is Rick. I'm over here on the East Coast, and I just kind of try to keep things moving along. We are recording this week's webinar again for use on Manny's website, as well as I think he might be putting portions of this on YouTube as well. So that would be another location where you might be able to find it. And as last week, you'll be hearing us on the phone, but we can't hear you. The software we're using actually mutes your phone out. So that means if the baby's crying in the background or the dog is barking at your location, doesn't matter. We can't hear it. But that also means that if you want to ask Russ a question, you have to type it into the question and answer box in the Citrix software that you see on your screen now. And so if you want to go ahead and ask some questions, now would be a good time. We'll just get them queued up in our list here, and we'll pass them on to Russ. A reminder for those of you who are monthly subscribers, meaning that you have not ponied up for the annual subscription yet, we have a special offer for you this week, and I do mean special because Manny has sweetened the pot. He's added an item with a $2,000 value for the first person who upgrades their subscription this week, and we'll be telling you a little bit more about that later on in the webinar. And Manny also asked that everybody who goes through the webinar, please complete the questionnaire question at the end, and so he can understand how valuable you are finding this. So let's start off this morning with a poll while we wait for the last few people to join us. And actually, this is a poll question that was raised during last week's webinar, and the question is this: what kind of broker do you use? And so if everyone would please click your choice on the screen. The choices are direct access broker, a discount broker, or a full service broker. And I'll give you about 1 minute to answer that question. The question again is, what kind of broker do you use? Direct access broker, a discount broker, or a full service broker? And right now, discount broker is in the lead with about 80% of the people responding, and the direct access broker with 20%. And so far, no one has selected a full service broker. And I am closing the poll now. And you should see the results on your screen in just a minute. The question was, what kind of broker do you use? And the response is 33% are currently using a direct access broker, 67% use a discount broker, and none of you are using a full service broker. How about you, Russ? What's your preferred method?
Well, actually, I voted on this, and I'm a discount broker, although
okay.
I have used direct access in the past.
So I think now we're ready for our first question for Russ. Does holding positions with conditional sales orders after 10:30 profit consistently? So the question from the audience is, does holding positions with conditional sales orders after 10:30 profit consistently?
I assume we're talking about stocks that Manny is recommending, and no, I don't recommend it because Manny's plays are usually relatively short-term, and they're basically a type of a contrarian play. If you've read my seminar that's posted on Manny's website, you'll see that I actually recommend one way of playing is to play in the opposite direction after 10:30, or actually sometimes earlier than that.
Okay. For those of you who are just joining us, this is Coffee with Russ, the first hour trading webinar that we hold every Friday at about this time. And we are soliciting your questions for Russ. All you have to do is type them onto your PC, and it appears at this end. We pass them on to Russ. We have a question from Brian. And Brian says, I have been experiencing fairly significant slippage paper trading this week. Do you have any thoughts or suggestions? Brian says he's been experiencing some slippage paper trading this week. What are your thoughts on that, Russ?
Well, I'm not quite sure how he experiences slippage when he's paper trading, because paper trading, it's hard to know what your real fills are. It's common to have slippage. As I recommend in my seminar, if you just trade anywhere from 10 to 100 shares so that you get actual live trades and actual real fills, it will give you an idea what your real slippage is. And I do have some techniques in that seminar that tell you how to get your orders in faster, how to get queued up in advance, and that reduces the slippage by a whole lot.
Okay. Do we have another question for Russ? If so, please type it in the Citrix question and answer box, and we'll pass those on to Russ. Someone has asked that you describe your hardware setup, Russ. What hardware, what software are you using?
Well, I just upgraded my computer last October, November. You really don't need anything elaborate, but since I only buy a computer about once every 5 years, I thought I would go with something pretty nice. I bought an HP with 3 gigs of RAM. I got a separate 512 megabyte video card, which powers two 20-inch flat panel monitors. Gives me a pretty fast setup. I don't really notice any real difference in speed. The most important thing actually is your DSL connection. That's the thing that makes the big difference.
And I assume that a cable modem would work just as well?
Well, there's various levels. 1.5 MIPS DSL is what I used to have. Now I've upgraded to 6 MIPS, and actually the local cable company here in my area has just come out with a 15 MIPS service. I may be looking at that someday, but I don't really feel it's necessary.
Well, around here, Verizon is ripping up our streets laying in fiber optic for their Fios system, which brings fiber optic right to the door. When I lived down in Maryland, I had that. But, to be honest, I really didn't notice a difference between that and DSL. I'm sure it was faster, but for most average things you do, even videos, it doesn't seem to make much difference. We have a question from Kay, and that is, do you trade options on these stocks? And if not, why not? Do you trade options on these stocks? And if not, why not?
I've never traded options on these stocks. I have traded a lot of options in the past. I've gotten away from it because I find I don't really make a lot of money on options. I've had some very nice trades, but I've had a lot of losers too. I don't think that you can actually get in and out of the options fast enough to be effective on some of Manny's faster trades. A slow-moving trade like he had today, sure, it would work. But when you go into a trade with Manny, you don't know whether it's going to be a 2-minute trade or a 20-minute trade. So it's probably not a great deal of benefit in trying to use the options. You get greater leverage, but I think your risk is probably too high.